Yes, I am ready from my side, Ethan, thanks.
So, hello everyone. Can everyone hear okay? So we're excited to be here at the Biennale of Public Space. This Biennale has really been foundational to the global public space movement, with UN Habitat from the early days, I think 2011, really in defining public space, in connecting the world, building collective learning and advocacy around public space. And throughout that time, I've been lucky to learn from this convening and leaders in it, like Pietro Guerrero. And we've also been learning about how to build networks for public spaces, for placemaking. And we're really excited that this session is about the global public space network that UN Habitat has built. It's really the foundational work of this Biennale and of the public space program at UN Habitat has really forged a global public space movement, a cause unto itself, but also a cause that brings together, disrupts, and organizes many different causes in urbanism. And so public space is the space between many different focuses of urban development. But it's also the connective tissue. And it's also important to connect the public space practitioners, academics, advocates around the world, and that's what this network is doing, led by UN Habitat. So we couldn't be more thrilled for the evolution of the UN Habitat Public Space Program, the evolution of the public space movement and cause, this conversation with leaders from all over the world that have been working to pioneer public space in their work. So without further ado, I'd love to hand it over to Josè Chong, who leads the public space program at UN Habitat. And we've been very lucky to collaborate with him on many continents and at many World Urban Forums. So really, his pioneering leadership has made so much of this work possible, and now is growing in greater exponentially through these network building efforts. So Josè, I'll turn it back over to you. And can you hear me?
Yes, I
Josè?
can hear you.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Yes,
okay.
Good. Thanks a lot, Ethan. And I think you're passing the slides from that side. It's a pleasure to be virtually joining to the Public Space Biennale, and thanks for the kind introduction words. I will start maybe a next slide, and then you saw a little bit yesterday during our plenary. Next slide, please. The importance of global agendas. Yesterday was highlighted the new urban agenda, but also important the sustainable development goals. And only to remind us, because this is key from our side, the target 11.7 to provide universal access to safe, inclusive, and accessible green and public spaces. So this is quite important for us, and I believe that, and actually as a part of the history of the movement to push to be able to have this SDG goal in the process, and to have public space showcase there, come up from networks, and it's we would like to use the power of the partners and networks also to push to have a public space indicator in the post-2030 agenda. No? So it's we, first of all, we have to build up to 2030. That is we have managed to achieve more accessibility and more quality on public space, but even to continue on the importance of the agenda of public space for to have inclusive, safe environments in general. So I will pass to the next slide, please. And as Ethan was mentioning, the Global Public Space Program has been working from 2012 to support networks on development and implementation of public space around the world. We work a lot through networks and implementing partners, because we know that this mandate is very big, and then we need to support each other to be able to foster and to promote on the importance of public spaces like for sustainable urban development. So I wanted to highlight only that this for instance, that for the first time placemaking was recognized as an approach in a UN document, and I think this is through the resolution that 23.4, that is sustainable urban development through access to public space. So I think this is quite important, and that is why one of our key partners working on the agenda of improving public space is the placemaking network. Next slide, please. I wanted to highlight, and this is also repeated yesterday, that one of our foundational documents was the Global Public Space Toolkit. And actually, this was the result of some meetings that we have during the Biennale that was important to produce a document that is we can have a common definition, principles, and case studies regarding a public space. So it's this was launched in 2015 together with Instituto Nacional de Urbanística, so the National Institute of Urbanism from Italy, and the Biennale of Public Space. One of the lead authors was Pietro Garau, who was yesterday moderating the inaugural session. And this document has been the one that we are adopting and using as a definitions to measure and monitor public space status around the world. So I think this idea to have a public space report by 2030, I think will be good in relation to this foundational document. Only to mention this is has been translated to all the UN languages. The only one that is we are in coordination with Sorbonne University is to translate it to French. Next slide, please. I wanted to, in this session, is to take advantage, to go a little bit more on deep on the different tools that we have been offering from the Global Public Space Program that can be useful for your application at the different regions. And normally what we do is we have these open source tools that are available online. You can search for it to provide guidance to local governments and partners to improve public spaces around the world. No? So the ones that I wanted to highlight is the citywide public space assessment. Only to mention that is how it started. It started by a request for the city of Nairobi that they wanted to have on the status. They wanted to have a policies and on public space in Nairobi. So the first question that we did is do you have an assessment of the existing public spaces that you have in your city? They didn't have it. So we had to invent a methodology, compiling a lot of methodologies around the world on how to capture in a very cheap way and also a very easy way the potential public spaces in the city of Nairobi. So this is started with this. We are using open source tools as Kobo Toolbox to capture information of quality of public space through 200 indicators. And now we have produced around 40 citywide public space assessment around the world. Next one, please. So this is next slide. You can pass. Through this process, also what we have is the immediate next step after to having the assessment is citywide public space strategies. More and more, we are supporting cities to provide inputs how to develop a citywide public space strategy, and we have compiled actually through this public space compendium is we are able to see what are the different approaches through cities to upgrade the public spaces at the citywide level. No, so I think this is important from our mandate. You have this guide, and it's we are going to close to have an updated version of this publication that provides some guidance for city leaders and cities to upgrade the condition of public spaces around their cities. And next one, please. You can see like some examples. For instance, like we were comparing in this case cities in Abu Dhabi, what is Singapore or even Wuhan, and we are like taking, for instance, like what are the main considerations when they are doing citywide public space strategies. Like some of them are related, like for example, that more like as public space as a cross-cutting issue, like for their cities to improve quality of life, and some of them are taking more as a thematic specific area. Next one, please. Block by block, I wanted to highlight this one. Actually, this is a long-term collaboration that we have like with Mojang and Microsoft, like to use the game. This is one of the most popular games in the world, like to do participatory planning. And we have been using that like in many contexts, and in reality has helped us like to reach out like sometimes like a difficult population, sometimes like to engage in participatory processes, like for particularly like the children and youth. And but in general, like has allowed us like to also like to have a very simple tool to take decisions on the programming of the space. Normally, like, we involve communities and technicians on the co-design of their public spaces. Next one, please. I will try to speed up also on the presentation to be able like, to have like, more time like, to the next speakers. Next one, please. And it's like we have applied like this in a variety of contexts. For example, here like we can see like some pictures of like the upgrading of a stair as a public space, like with multiple uses. Like this is like through our partners of catalytic action, and this is what's quite important. This is an upgrading of this public space after the bomb blast that happened in Beirut in Lebanon. No? So I think like this was one of the options, and it's like one of the public space reconstruction options that we provided in Beirut. Next one, please. Her city, I will be going like a very quick on this one. It was highlighted yesterday also in the plenary by Ellie, who is coordinating the Her City initiative. And this started actually like to have a public space tool that is like engage more like girls and adolescents like to improve in public space. Now we have a scale up like a more like to a gender sensitive like a planning tool. So it's like please go next slide, please. And it's like we have just launched like the second version that is not only like to public space upgrading, but also like to consider like on city development in general. No, so like this is an example from Sweden where like we conducted participatory workshops, and actually after the intervention we have reduced on unsafety perception in this neighborhood that it was close like to a metro station. Next one, please. Young Game Changers, I wanted to highlight this project because it's quite interesting. Like we were adapting like some of the tools that we use like from the Global Public Space Program, mainly on public space, but it's like more related like to health issues and also like with youth empowerment. And we have like in this project actually collaborated with a lot with the country offices. We have provided like certain tools and adapting certain methodologies like to improve public space conditions in cities like with a strong health focus. No, like the pilot countries or like for this initiative is Senegal, India, and Colombia. Next one, please. This is like for instance like how we are providing like these tools. Like this is as a project objectives. They are mixed like between youth governance, digital engagement, and inclusive public spaces. Some of the tools like we have developed like through this project is like a participatory budgeting that is online, and it's like it's a tool that also we can offer like to different cities like to try to engage more youth on the design and decision on how to improve like projects in their own cities. Next one, please. All this information, like you can find it in the database of the Global Public Space Program. Like you have like the QR code here. Like we are dividing, we are always updating the information with impact stories, but also only to highlight the importance of public space to improve quality of life of people and to do a change in the perception of safety and also improving inclusiveness in the different urban contexts. So this is quite fundamental. Next one, please. Also, to end up and to start closing this presentation, for us was important on this impact, like from the public space program, that is we needed actually to work more and more with partners, to mainstream the importance of public space for sustainable urban development. No, so it's we had these events and consultations with partners, that is have results on this strengthening process of the global public space network. Next one, please. And on the timeline is that I explained a little bit yesterday, is now we want concentrating of what is happening from 2026 to 2030. That is the 5 years that we have to achieve the sustainable development goals, particularly the one on public space. And we would like to invite you to participate in these networks and how to have this process moving forward and beyond the 2020 agenda. Next one, please. We have have the luck that is we have a lot of members actually in person there in the room, and thanks a lot for your participation there in the Biennale. So it's we have these regional networks and regional chapters from the Global Public Space Network. Happy to have more members joining, and we have certain focal points. And next one, please. And we are inviting you to participate in this global public space network. And maybe the last thing, maybe Ethan at the end, you can highlight from the session is we will have the next World Urban Forum in Baku in Azerbaijan in May. So it's that will be the next important meeting from the Global Public Space Network, and also invite you certain opportunities as Dubai Awards that you can apply for best practices on public space regeneration. Thanks a lot, and over to you, Ethan.
So thank you, José, and welcome to those who've just joined us in person and online. Again, this is really extraordinary to go review all the work that's been done to get to here, and now to be able to invite other people to join the leadership of the public space and placemaking movements globally is key. Again, I'm Ethan Ken. I'm Executive Director of Placemaking X, and we've been working alongside you in Habitat since 2011 to build these networks essentially, and build this learning, and now really to decentralize the movement around public space leaders globally. We're lucky to have some representation from different continents here. José mentioned part of the way that they're decentralizing it is around different continents. I technically represent North America. I'm from New York City, but our networks are pretty evenly distributed around the world. We have had 2 recent global placemaking summits in North America, one in Mexico City and recently this in June in Toronto. But again, gathering people from around the world to try to connect these regional and national networks around cross-cutting agendas on public space and placemaking. But we're lucky to have really strong representation here from Latin America. José Chong obviously is actually from Peru, but we also have Javier, Otero, and Guillermo Bernal. Javier is from Venezuela, and Guillermo is from Mexico City. And I think we're going to Guillermo first to represent, to talk about his work in Mexico, but also around Latin America supporting public space and placemaking. Okay, or I can do it. You stand up. Okay. Yes.
So José asked me to, we were having a conversation about program development for public space. And this is actually our first program that we developed in Mexico and in Latin America. And it's based on some factors, basically early childhood, that is children from 0 to 5 years old, and lighter, quicker, cheaper tactical urbanism interventions. And then we focus on different public spaces. So it's called LAPIS, that it means the friendly places for early childhood. And it's an initiative from FEMSA Foundation and us as Fundación Placemaking. Lapis for us creates this fun, safe, and really participatory public environments designed for early childhood for children in their first years of development, but also to their caregivers. It's very important to focus on the caregivers. 3 steps that we follow. We do, as we know, I mean, this is basic, I think, not for everyone here, but community and government partnerships, participatory workshops with children and caregivers. We diagnose with our methodology of placemaking that's called the place game. During the implementation, we design of the place based on information from that workshops. We do the construction with the local materials, always with local materials, and we do the community audit of the place. And after the place is done, we do participatory activation calendar. That's the tool. We create a capacity building to local partners, and then we do the impact analysis and the KPIs for our program. I mean, like, this is simple. We have a longer version of this, but this is like the basic steps, the 9 basic steps we follow. Three steps and then 3 each. We have done it in all over the country now, and we have done these spaces in these countries: Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, and Brazil. So we do co-creation with children and caregivers. We design locally through community organizations and participatory workshops with children and caregivers. And our main goal is to create a capacity building for local organizations that receive training and a toolbox to implement the workshops. Here you can see some of our work. We use our placemaking methodology called Lighter, Quicker, Cheaper, that it's actions that are low cost, focus on their impact, and that they will bring to the community. Obviously, use community workforce, using local materials, fixing more than buying new things, and adding regional vegetation and planters. So which public spaces that we work on? We work on safe pedestrian crossings, school patios, urban gardens, rural and urban playgrounds, bicycles, natural reserves, and playgrounds. And our planning process, you will see how fast it's our planning and on our plans. So basically, we do drawings. We don't do architectural designs, but we do these kind of drawings. And this is way closer and faster for the community to understand what they want. These are actually real projects that we have built. And then we do activation of public space through play. We believed on play, and we used our placemaking elements called triangulation. That it's basically how we connect children, caregivers with their physical environment. Community and government partnerships also help us with the program a lot, and they also help with the maintenance and the long term of the use of the space. This one, it's in Zapopan in Mexico, where the next World Cup is going to be held. So how we do expand this program, and it's through obviously local partnerships with the help of local connections and participatory design, through our Placemaking X Latin American and Mexican network of allies and implementers, and we have starting calls in 2022 and 2023 for implementing the process. We work with governments. We have worked with 85 local governments right now to implement these projects, and obviously, they have embedded policies of city program for children and many others. Also, others on budget, daily operations, and these co-lead with the community to deliver these formations and these program managements. Here's some of the examples of the work we have done. There's a before and after of some of them. We have done 85 for now, but you can see some of the transformations. So thank you, and always here's like my email, and always please follow and explore our resource center in the Social Life Project, and go through our global network of development with Placemaking X. Thank you, Ethan.
Gracias, Guillermo. And now we have Javier Otero, who works for the Public Space Research Group in the University of Catalonia, and he's worked on public space for more than a decade with the Public Space Research Group. With Satha Low is also the partner at the Public Space Research Group, has also been key to a lot of this foundational work. So Javier.
Thank you so much, Ethan, and thank you, Guillermo, and everybody. Thank you, José, and the people at Unhabita for organizing this, and of course, for the people at the Biennale, del Espacio Público, Pietro and company. So yes, I mean, I'm going to be talking about the case studies in Caracas, Venezuela, at the request of the organizers, and I will also, tie it with the global proposal for the Public Space Observatory in the framework of the Public Space Research Network, and how can this make sense. So, besides what Ethan said, yes, I worked. I've been working for 10 years on the research side. Before the research side, 22 years ago, I founded an organization to rescue the neglected and underused public spaces through cultural events, concerts, arts. And I wish we had known this lighter, simpler, quicker methodology, and we have had a FEMSA on our side to kind of make all this happen, because those were all the ideas that we could not really materialize, because not only we didn't have the funding, but we didn't know how to convince the people with the money that this is a good idea. It makes complete sense. And it's good for the people. And it goes, I mean, there's so many benefits, and we couldn't really know. So that's what led me to research to understand how to translate these benefits and show them in a language, numbers, that they understand. So many issues of Caracas are not unlike the issues of other developing cities around the world. We have, on one side, a neglect of public spaces. We have a lack of maintenance, lack of use, and then health and safety concerns that arise from all of this. And on the other side, we also have informal growth and, for example, high population density, lack of public spaces. Caracas is a city that is a valley, and part of the mountains of this valley are where the barrios, the slums, favelas, they have different names. They have been created, so informal settlements. And informal settlements, because they're informal, they didn't plan them with public spaces and with parks and plazas for the most part. So they don't have where to put them, but they still need them. I mean, there's a high density population and they need these spaces. So that's one of the challenges, right? So just to do very quickly, I mean, in the 90s, there was an important private sector involvement campaign launched from the First Lady. So it was semi-presidential level. And there were about 500 actions in different parks. Basically, what they did, they convinced companies to be the godparents of different parks around the city. And then they would come, they would invest in them. This was with the support of the municipalities, who, of course, would welcome the extra money and not having to worry about maintaining a place that they weren't maintaining anyways. So this was a help. I mean, I'm not trying to point fingers. It's just that was a reality. I mean, maybe they didn't have the funds, or there were other priorities, and so on. But the point is that yes, this was a way to tie in and do a partnership, public-private partnership, and try to put the money in where the people needed it. This was great. As you can see, they created lots of parks, and the problem is that once the president changed, the First Lady was no longer the First Lady. This disappeared. So there was also this tied up with a crisis, led to all these godparents who committed to take care of the parks to no longer take care of them. I mean, there was a strong support from the communities. Communities tried to continue asking for the support, but it was just not feasible anymore. Then in the 2000s, there was a wide neglect, so there was a lot of initiatives. That's when I started my organization, Plaza Fest. We organized cultural events, concerts, and so on. Between 2003 and 2010, it was funded by the communities themselves. We actually literally put like a box in the middle of the plaza and said, if you can help, and that's how we funded the whole situation, the whole operations. Until the crisis struck. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the inflation rate in Venezuela, but it has many zeros, and people were no longer able to afford to contribute. So that's when we had to stop. Other initiatives had better luck, and they were a bit more ambitious. For example, Por el Medio de la Calle was a festival that occurred in the middle of one of the neighborhoods, and there were over 400 artists and 50,000 people. It's a massive event. It's similar, if you're familiar with the French Fête de la Musique and the Nuit Blanche, it was like a combination of both at the same time in a city that usually this never happened. So it was a really amazing experience. But it was funded by the municipality, one of the municipalities that cared about public spaces a lot and had the funding. It was a rich municipality, and sponsors. I mean, they also managed to get a lot of sponsorship. But it was discontinued after the national crisis in 2014. A lot of people left the country, and it was no longer sustainable to keep this happening. And thanks to my professor and colleague, Zulma Bolivar, who kept me up to date, because it's been 15 years since I last lived in Venezuela. We have some information about the recent initiatives. There's the Zona de Descarga, which is in the barrio of Petare. It's the largest, the third largest slum in Latin America, where, of course, as I mentioned, there's no places to make a public space. So what do? So they improvised spaces of cohabitation on the rooftops of the different houses. So in a way, they have some greeneries in some areas, so cafes and things where people can actually enjoy over their own houses. And then they also do cinema, as you can see on the image here, right there, where they will put just a screen on one of the rooftops, and then everybody else sits on the roof, and they have the best seats to watch the movie. And there is even concert. This is the Sorden Público, which is a very famous band in Venezuela, and they just gave a concert right there in one of the rooftops, and everybody else was enjoying it from their rooftop. So how is this funded? This is funded through donations of the 8 million more Venezuelans that left the country, were elsewhere. And I'm not sure if there's any other more formal donors, like in terms of companies and so on. But yeah, it's a creative solution to add some publicness to public spaces. Of course, there are safety concerns. I mean, you put all this equipment on a rooftop, will it yield? I mean, like there are many questions about this, but I mean, hopefully all of this can be formalized in a way, or you know, there can be some review on this. Lastly, there is an initiative from the Vice Presidency called Juntos Together. And it's effective. I mean, it's welcomed by the local authorities because it's kind of replicating a bit what happened in the 90s, except there is not a lot of involvement of the communities themselves. It's just a very top-down approach. They just put the money in, they make it nice, they make it look pretty, they make it functional. People are grateful, and that's that. You know, like there's no involvement, no question. I mean, as far as we know, because they're trying to do it fast, quickly. You know, it's like a guerrilla operation, but from top down, like doing it, and that's that. That's what you get. And of course, this is not very. I mean, because people are grateful because when you have nothing and they give you something, you're happy. But is it really satisfying the needs and the desires of the population? That's a different question. And there are, of course, concerns about continuity and maintenance once there's not going to be a turnover in mind, but I mean, like if there were and so on, I mean, would this continue? What I mean, and how would the, you know, like this get funded? And if there is no involvement of the community, will the community care for the spaces to make them stay? So all this to tie it up, these are just examples of one city in one country, of the many cities in many countries around the city where there are some ideas that could inspire or provide some ideas or inspiration for new practices to be done. And that's why in the Global Public Space Network, in the working group of the normative and inspiring practices, we propose the creation of the Observatory for Normative and Inspiring Practices in Public Spaces, basically to try to collect all the information about different practices in public spaces and try to, you know, systematically collect it, monitor, and also be able to connect and offer to these initiatives. I mean, if I had known, for example, I mean, we know about these initiatives, it would be great if it is possible to reach out to them and see what kind of support can be offered from our end, and vice versa. I mean, maybe they hear about this and they connect. So it's good to establish this type of observatory, make it visible so that people can have this type of support in the different communities where they are creating spaces, public spaces for all. And with that, I close. Thank you very much, all of you, and get in touch if you have anything to say. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, Javier. And the Placemaking Latino America is having their 7th conference that's coming here in this one's in Peru, in Cusco, in a month from now. So anyone, I'm hoping to go myself if anyone else wants to join. But moving to Asia, Guillermo, you're able to unmute it so they can speak from online. They're having a hard time getting. Do you know how to unmute the online speakers? We're moving to Asia, to Malaysia, actually. Malaysia just a few weeks ago held a Placemaking Week Asia, and Malaysia has really led the placemaking conversation in the region. We've worked with them for more than a decade on is Zairin Aziz. So yeah, so we're introducing Zairin Aziz, who works at Think City. He's been a strong partner and pioneer on public space and placemaking in Malaysia and Penang and Kuala Lumpur. The former head of UN Habitat was very involved in placemaking. We actually did a training with her when she was mayor of Penang more than a decade ago, and she really pioneered it at UN Habitat. They need to unmute from there. Are you able to unmute yourself? I don't think they're able to.
Hi, can you
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Yes, but I can't on my camera. I mean, maybe it might be a issue.
We can't see you, but we can hear you fine. Are we able to get their camera on or no? Or no? We'll try to turn it on. But maybe go ahead, Zairin.
Okay, yeah. I mean, in the meantime.
Okay.
Okay, it's on now. Okay.
Oh, there,
Okay,
I see you. Perfect.
Starting with the slides.
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Very pleasure and honor to be here. Thank you, Ethan, for the kind introduction. Yes, we in Malaysia, we just recently hosted our Placemaker Week ASEAN, because as Malaysia, we are the chair of the Southeast Asian nations at the moment. So if you could go to the slides. Yeah, thank you. Yes, so I'm with Think City. Can you go to the next one? So Think City is a part of the global public space network. We are an impact organization under the investment arm of the government. So we specialize in urban rejuvenation and also try to make cities more people-friendly and also livable. Next one. So in Asia, spaces or public spaces are a bit slightly different than what the context is in the Western countries, or perhaps even in Africa and also in the Middle East. It's usually more of like an informal third space where sociability is also woven into the food and commerce and everyday exchange. So we have like things like the night markets, which is quite famous in Asia. We have the Shilin night market in Taiwan. We have Chatuchak in Bangkok. And then we have kopitiam, or like tea stalls, which is quite famous in Asia as well, in chai in India. And we also have this thing called 5 footways, where it's more of like a shaded area within the footpath of shop houses, and it's also embedded into the land area and public area of shop houses. Also informal street sites. Okay, next. So I'm part of the strategy and analytics team here in Think City, and then we also do a lot of public realm improvement projects. But one thing that we like to highlight today, that is one of the Armenian Park project in Penang Island, Malaysia, which is up north in Malaysia, where it's nestled in the UNESCO World Heritage Site area. If you go next, I might have a lot of pictures just to, demonstrate. So it's nestled into the Georgetown Strategic Heritage Zone area within the core and then within the buffer zone. Next. So using an evidence-based approach, using analytics and data analytics here, we can actually understand the site and actually go into what we can actually activate in terms of placemaking and also improvement. Next. So when Think City, along with few partners, embarked on this project for this UNESCO inscription, they conducted also a baseline study, and we saw that reduction of residents perhaps inside this historical neighborhood has been going down. So the challenge is now trying to understand the site, where can we actually add value and intervene in a proper way. Next. So we embarked on these engagement findings, and also input were then translated into conceptual design to reimagine the site as a public open space for the surrounding community. As you can see, the next one. So the park that I showed you earlier, it was at this state. So challenges in Asia, actually, we have a lot of these informal settlements, like I said. So, but how do we want to actually convert it into a functioning public space for social cohesion, economic development, and environmental factors as well? So it was a flea market actually opening in the evenings. Next one. Because of the flea markets, surrounding community businesses and around affected the perception of the public, deeming it unsafe. There was also a bit of violence and so on. Next one. So we use this participatory process to engage the community to understand the needs and challenges faced by the communities, and especially the traders, because the last thing you want to do is actually displace the existing community and the traders with the local council. Next one. So we listen and to the traders. Together with the local city councils, there was informal and formal solutions in terms of negotiating. So there was a lot of negotiating involved. Okay, next. So after multiple negotiations, the traders and also some of the residents there were relocated multiple times. And finally, if you see the next one. So they were finally relocated to a proper, a hawker center, and then there was actually good facilities ensuring no one was displaced. Okay, and then next one. So this encompasses what we did in a nutshell in terms of participatory processes. So we ensured things like accessibility. We did an audit in terms of where to include tactile installations. The landscape architect actually went on a wheelchair to experience the accessibility of the public space, and also continuous public engagements as it's being built. And if you go to the next slide. So this is what it looks like today from barren land, and I'm not sure if some of you are aware of what Penang is. So Penang is one of the UNESCO World Heritage cities in Malaysia, and this is one of the historic cores of the city center, where now it's accessible for all. It provides cooling and comfort and microclimate. We also host some cultural festivals and artistic activations there. And if you can see, the streets is now filled with tourists, filled with residents. So it boosts local economy through this heritage tourism. Yes, and next one. So this is just a picture during the Georgetown Festival. It's a bit cooling now. And next. And I'd like to leave you with this life cycle process, which we feel that we can add value in terms of this network, and maybe perhaps other contexts across the subcontinents and continents. So we use this for our public space improvement life cycle, from conceptualization and participation, and then as we design and activate, there's a continuous loop after monitoring. So we see that short-term feedback loop when we go and repair, refurbish, redesign, and replicate, whether it's possible. And if it's in a longer-term horizon, we also design for it to be redesigned and replicate, because sometimes these public spaces are just one-off playgrounds, and we want to avoid that. So yes, next one. Yes, it's not about the big moves, it's about the community. And you can go to the next one. And yep, well, yes, that's all. So that's all from me. And thank you so much
Thank you
for having Think City and me as well. Thank you.
Very grateful, Zairin, for generously sharing so much in this long-time leadership. And I can attest, I've been to Armenia Park and to Penang and seen the extraordinary model that that your work represents of integrating placemaking with heritage and the diverse cultures of Penang Island. It's wonderful to see, and that case study is really inspiring to, I think, so many areas that need similar preservation, but need to be led by the public space activation as well. So with that, I'm really excited to now come a little closer to here to Thara Quresh, who represents one of the newest placemaking networks, Placemaking Palestinians, which is part of the AMAKEN placemaking network, which is the placemaking network for the Arab world. And Thara, please share what you're working on. Let's see. Let us hear. Guillermo's getting your mic on, and we see you. And let's see here.
Yeah, now I think
yes.
you can hear me.
Now we hear you. Now we hear you. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, and I'm glad to be here. And after Zairin, I was like less than a month in Malaysia, and it's amazing. And also the park and going and what's all placemaking are really the people are practicing there. So now if I move to the my 5 minutes, I just need to talk. I'm a Thara Quresh. I'm an architect and urban planner, and I come from Jerusalem. So it's Jerusalem, and now we're talking about measuring impact, reclaiming space and public space as a tool of justice. So please, next slide. Okay, yeah. So here a little bit. I came from East Jerusalem, Quds, Jerusalem. So it's a city where public space is not neutral. It's rare for Palestinians, underused, and often unsafe. So if you think this sounds a little bit heavy, don't worry. I promise I will not just like make it a political lecture. But living here, I'm talking with you from Jerusalem, so you can't escape politics. So in East Jerusalem, placemaking isn't just a design, it's reclaiming belonging, identity, and safety. Every intervention must navigate trust gaps, political constraints, and constant governance. So I will not just like taking too much while this timeline silently reminds you of the last 100 years. I will not go through it, but I assume most of you know it. So here we are living surrounded in this city in 42 kilometers wall, over than 100 military checkpoints, and barriers, gates, soldiers, armed settlers, and cameras, surveillance everywhere. So even the press public space that we have, where's the children can gather or play, it's shrinking, and it's controlled and it's watched. So, and almost impossible to claim. So here the question I wanted to frame. Next, please. So here's the question I want to frame. Do the objectives of the contributing stakeholders, and here like the lead partners in other words using placemaking, does they align with the experiences and needs of the people who actually use these spaces? So next. So this question led me to found Placemaking Palestinians Network, and that was like with Wolf in Cairo, and to be part of AMAKEN as the Palestinian chapter of AMAKEN and part of Placemaking X and the regional networks, as now in the Global Public Space Network. And to be the Palestinian chapter of AMAKEN, it's a regional network. Also next, it's a regional network working across Arab cities to support community-centered placemaking. Next, and in AMAKEN act at every level, locally through trainings, workshops, and hands-on placemaking. Globally, by representing the Arab board in placemaking, UN Habitat Placemaking X and placemaking weeks, UN Habitat forums, and international panels. Next. So, for example, in Cairo, AMAKEN worked with the students, locals, and authorities in the Mamluk deserts, and participatory engagement to prepare a heritage site for future development. Implementation is still coming, but the process already shows the power of trust building and shared objectives. Next. So When we think Cairo, we saw how heritage sites can be prepared for future development. But in Jerusalem, and this photo is in Jerusalem, the spaces are limited, fragmented, and we don't wait for permission. We activate it with resilience. So, which brings me to real question: what does placemaking looks like under occupation, conflict? Next. So, in Palestinian context, specifically East Jerusalem, Quds, where our work unfolds, but not only, it's on 3 levels. The first level is about knowledge exchange and professional connection. So we organize online lecture series, field trips, urban walks to reclaim spaces, observe them through a special lens, and exchange experiences with the placemaking professionals across the Arab world. And these lectures are in Arabic and in exchanging the knowledge. And the second level is the capacity development. So these activities develop the skills of the potential placemakers and the professionals themselves, equipping them to understand public spaces, not conceptually, but as lived and tangible urban environments. Next. And the third layer is the research. So through a research project and activation toolkits, we engage in communities into choosing how underused park and spaces should be activated. The goal is to enhance residents' sense of belonging and ownership, ensuring that public participation is meaningful, grounded, and effective. Next. So all of this is embedded in impact evaluation, where we differentiate between stakeholders. Here are the beneficiaries, the users, and the contributional actors, the leaders. So we differentiate between their risks, their objectives, and their success indicators. So this allows us to understand whether placemaking practices are truly effective and how they transform people's relationship to space. Next. So here, just like I try to keep it on just like 5 minutes. But in 5 minutes, I can't really capture hundreds of experiences, practitioners and practices, communities shaping places across the Arab world. What I can say is that as this, whenever we're planning, implementing, or activating, wherever we can make an impact, we do. So each city is different, each Arab city is different, each context unique. Yet we share a vision of belonging, identity, creativity, and resilience. So this is what it means to be part of AMAKEN. And we are not only placemakers, we are rewriting the narratives of our cities. So thank you.
Wow, Thara, thank you so much. Yeah, applause from the audience, and well, thank you for sharing that and for this challenging, brave, and hopeful work. We all have a lot to learn from you, and certainly people around the world want to support your work. This is really extraordinary. So for the last session, we have somebody here in the room, and also just to mention to people online, there's representation from placemaking Palestinians here in the room as well. That we're lucky to have, so thank you. But so the last presentation is from Ayanda Roji, who represents the African Center on Public Spaces and the Placemaking Africa Network, and she's from Joburg, South Africa, and it's just flew in this morning, so we're lucky to have her here in person. So I can.
Thank you very much. I'm going to talk about the story of the Center on African Public Spaces and how it managed to forge partnerships and leverage networks across the globe. So the Center, for those who do not know, the Center on African Public Spaces, in short CAPS, is a joint partnership between the City of Johannesburg, UN Habitat, and GIZ. It's online, so it's an online knowledge exchange platform dedicated to public spaces in African cities. So this is Johannesburg, for those who do not know. And I want to talk about partnerships, how they have been a greatest currency for CAPS, and the fact that collaboration collaboration has been the guiding principle of the initiative. So the vision for CAPS is around how do we co-create humane-centered public spaces at the heart of African cities. So collaboration has been guiding us. So how did we do it? How did we build these strategic collaborations? I think the first thing is the credibility of the founding partners. So the founding partners are the City of Johannesburg, UN Habitat, and GIZ. So from the very beginning, CAP stood on firm ground. We were lucky that when we started, or where CAPS emanated, we wanted to transform unsafe parks in the city of Johannesburg into inclusive public spaces. And we were joined by UN Habitat and GIZ, and we took those lessons all over the world. And in one of the conferences, African leaders, they said they lamented the loss of public space, but also they said there's a need for a peer-to-peer knowledge exchange platform. So to have UN Habitat and GIZ really gave us legitimacy in terms of what we were saying. So it's really, their support not only gave us legitimacy, but also it sort of gave a sign that CAPS is a very serious initiative to invest in. I think the second one is around how we, through existing agreements of the city of Johannesburg. So the municipality already had MOUs with universities and also twinning agreements with other cities in Africa, and had agreements with private sector and other international agencies. So we use that and leverage that so that we can get support for CAPS. Another area is around global platforms such as this one, you know. So we were invited in 2017 to come and present. So meaning this platform already knows about CAPS. Excuse me. Other platforms that we leverage is the Afro-City Summit, which is the gathering of local governments in Africa. They meet every 2 years. So always we have a side event in that platform. Also the World Urban Forum, because of our partnership with UN Habitat, they support us and make sure that there's a theme around public space. So we're always there, always having a side event. So these platforms, this is another conference in Johannesburg. So these platforms have been so powerful in terms of getting allies for CAPS, getting people who can collaborate with us, but also institutions that can collaborate with us. From those regional and global events, we got to find other institutions and other networks that are involved in public space in Africa, but also in other parts of the world. So they've been very powerful. I just want to now move to the Power of Place. I'm from Johannesburg. CAPS is a project of the City of Johannesburg. We are placed in South Africa. By being there, we've understood the Power of Place. The fact that South Africa has become such a critical global convener or convening hub. It has hosted critical conferences. This year alone, I mean, last week it hosted Urban 20, where the leaders of the world were in Johannesburg. And then in November, hosting G20 again, where the leaders of the world have been in Johannesburg. So as CAPS, we've been leveraging the fact that there are those leaders. Yes, we didn't participate, like have side events, but we've been there to meet different people from across the world. I want to talk about the power of solidarity. I think our affiliation with the global public space network, and also the global placemaking network has been so important. Like they've been like lifelines for CAPS, because we managed to connect with placemakers and other public space advocates from across the globe. And now we have a thinking that we can have within that placemakers from the global south, even South Africa and Palestine are thinking of having a joint project together. So I think these are very important and very powerful to have that solidarity, because wherever you are, whatever challenges that you have, you know that you are not alone. There's someone somewhere who's like facing the same issues that you are facing. And then CAPS established an advisory board. I think this has been wonderful in terms of helping us to forge partners with other people. The advisory board are people that have been working with the City of Johannesburg in conceptualizing CAPS and also in implementing other initiatives within the city. They are from the founding partners, they are from universities and communities and civil society organizations. Their leadership and credibility has really been instrumental in terms of raising awareness of CAPS, but also mobilizing resources or opening doors for us so that we can have new friends. And then I talked about all this power of places, power of solidarity, but there are challenges when you are building partnerships, when you are convening a network. And one of them, yes, in the beginning you get seed funding, but beyond that, it gets so dry. So there are struggles beyond seed funding. For instance, operational capability is so stretched. At the moment, I'm the only one who's like convening, but also driving everything related to CAPS. Even though it's within the city, I have other 10 projects that I am leading. And then the next one is around the risk now of remaining just a digital platform only, with no one who can activate and animate, and make sure that the knowledge exchange we're talking about really does happen end and end. And then we found that there's limited resources for co-production and knowledge exchange. Sometimes there is for south to south initiatives, south to south meaning different continents, but within a continent, it gets very tricky, more trickier. And then going forward, Ethan talk about cross-cutting issues. I think that this is where we should go. As CAPS, we helped the City of Johannesburg in March to convene a conference on urban forest. I think that's an avenue of looking for placemakers within the climate space or within the sustainability space, so that the agendas are intersecting, not look at like placemaking and not think about other sectors who might have money at the moment. So we have started in July in looking at young people who are involved in climate education and action. So we're looking at who are the placemakers involved in climate change issues, so that they can become part of the African placemaking network. And again, when we were hosting the conference in March, we were exposed and we forged many partners that are involved in forestry, in climate change, in urban development. And these are avenues also, if we want to activate the African Placemaking Network, or we are talking about public space network globally, these are the partners that we can look at for resource mobilization, but also for helping us to convene knowledge exchange platforms. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ayanda, for sharing that extraordinary work. So we're a little over time, but we just want to wrap up quickly. But if there's any quick questions from people in the audience or online, we could quickly hear them, or we can continue the conversations. Obviously, this reflected an extraordinary depth and wealth of work of leadership in public spaces from many corners of the world, but also reflected the great need to continue to support this work and to connect it around the world. We have so much to learn from each other. There's so many ways we can support each other. We see in this era of uncertainty, especially at sort of the national level, the need to connect people working on places around the world, how much we have in common, how much, in a way, there's much more authentic and collective power at the place level. We learn, we keep each other in check. And a lot of our work is additive. Great public spaces bring out the best in everybody. They raise our level of behavior, our civility, and it's in great public spaces that culture advances, that civilization really most build its work. So the learning from each of these projects is really central and foundational to the larger public space learning, advocacy and action. So we're going to wrap up with a group picture here, as we often do. Sorry, we can't include everybody online. We can, okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, Farhana, wave. You're there, and Zairin, wave if you could. You're right. We'll make sure not to block you. But
stop here,
we wish
it could be bigger.
Okay, so we can hear you. Yeah. Oh, good. We have representation from Placemaking Palestinians here, so welcome all.
Wait.
So, okay, thank you, everyone. This is so. Selfies are always better. Make sure you're in there. Okay, you're in there, Thara. That's great. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining online. We wish you were here in person, but we'll see you soon somewhere in the world.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.